He chose
So
money
you are
over
rich.
love.
You are also the
What he
investor.
didn't know,
Are you
she was the
surprised?
money. Matthew had nothing but a prototype
So
and a
you are
dream
rich.
that kept
You
him
are
awake
also
at
the
3
investor.
a.m.
Are you surprised?
His apartment doubled as his office, laptop balanced on stacks of unpaid bills, coffee rings staining business plans that 7 investors had already rejected. 7. Each rejection felt like a door slamming in his face. "They don't see it," he muttered, staring at his bank account. $347.82. Enough for 2 weeks of ramen and prayers. Clara walked in, carrying takeout. Again. "You're spiraling," she said, setting down Thai food he definitely couldn't afford. "Let me see the pitch deck." "You don't have to." "Matthew." Her voice cut through his protest. "Show me." He watched as her eyes moved across the numbers, her finger tracing the revenue projections. She paused, frowned, grabbed his pen and started annotating margins he'd miscalculated by thousands. "Wait, how did you—" "This model assumes linear growth," she said, not looking up. "But subscription businesses scale exponentially after month 6. You're undervaluing yourself. Rerun these numbers with a 40% retention rate instead of 25%. Matthew stared at her. His girlfriend worked in marketing. At least that's what he thought she did. The next morning, she sat in the back of Kim's office, a venture capitalist known for destroying founders in pitch meetings. Clara wore jeans and said nothing, just nodded encouragement when Matthew's voice shook, explaining customer acquisition costs. Kim leaned forward. "Your projections are aggressive." "They're conservative," Matthew heard himself say, remembering Clara's notes. "I'm forecasting 25% retention, but industry standard for SaaS in this vertical is 35 to 40%. I'm building in a margin of error." Kim's eyebrow raised, first sign of interest he'd seen in 8 meetings. They walked out without a check, but with something more dangerous, hope. "You saved me in there," Matthew said in the parking lot. Clara smiled. "I just believe in you." But that night, while Matthew slept, Clara sat at his laptop. Her fingers moved across the keyboard with practiced precision, accessing files he didn't know existed, bank routing numbers, investor backgrounds, something called Phase 2 in a folder marked confidential. She made one phone call. "It's working," she whispered. "He has no idea." The line clicked dead. Outside, Matthew's phone buzzed with an email. Subject, urgent, Kim wants to meet tomorrow. Clara deleted her search history and climbed into bed beside him, her secret burning in the dark. The tweet changed everything. "Excited to announce my investment in at Matthew Tech's revolutionary platform. This is the future." Jessica Hartwell, 4.2 million followers. Jessica Hartwell, daughter of telecommunications mogul Richard Hartwell, Forbes 30 under 30. Her face had been on magazine covers since she turned 21. Matthew's phone exploded. TechCrunch wanted quotes. Bloomberg requested interviews. His inbox flooded with meeting requests from investors who'd ghosted him 2 months ago. "Matthew, this is incredible." Clara grabbed his hand, but he was already scrolling, watching his Twitter followers jump from 847 to 12,000 in real time. The first dinner with Jessica happened at a restaurant where entrees cost more than Matthew's monthly rent used to be. She wore confidence like jewelry, effortless, expensive, inherited. "Your growth metrics are impressive," Jessica said, swirling wine that probably cost $300 a bottle. "My father wants to meet you. He's hosting a summit in Aspen next month. You should come." Aspen, Matthew's heart hammered. "That's where deals actually happen," she finished, smiling. "Not in cramped offices, in ski lodges, on yachts." "You need to be in those rooms, Matthew." He thought of Clara waiting at home in their modest apartment, Clara who'd eaten ramen with him, Clara who'd believed when belief was all they had. But Clara didn't look like this, didn't move through the world like doors opened automatically, didn't have a father who could make one phone call and secure $50 million in Series B funding. The requests kept coming, gala invitations, networking events. Jessica's hand on his arm in photos that tech blogs dissected frame by frame. "Power couple?" the headlines teased. Clara noticed the distance first. "You forgot our anniversary dinner. I had a meeting with—" "I know who you had a meeting with, Matthew. I can see the photos." "This is business. Jessica's connections are—" "Clara, this is what we worked for." "We?" Her voice cracked. "When did you start thinking of it as we?" He didn't have an answer, or maybe he did and it was too cruel to say out loud. You fit my struggle, but you don't fit my spotlight. The next morning, Matthew flew to Aspen. First class. Jessica had arranged everything. Clara stood in their apartment holding his laptop, the one he'd left open. The screen showed an email thread she wasn't supposed to see. From Jessica Hartwell to Matthew Chen. Once you're established, we need to discuss optics. Public perception matters in our circles. I'm sure you understand. Below it, a draft Matthew hadn't sent. I know, I'm handling it. Clara's hands shook. She scrolled further and found something worse. A contract, dated 3 weeks before Jessica's tweet, before the investment, Section 7.3, Personal Brand Alignment Requirements. She read it twice, then called a number she'd sworn never to use again. It's Clara, she said quietly. I need to activate the contingency. Matthew practiced the words for 3 days before he said them. Clara was folding laundry when he came home from Aspen. His laundry, he realized with a pang of guilt. She'd been doing it while he was networking in lodges that cost $8,000 a night. We need to talk. She didn't look up, just kept folding his shirts with careful precision. Okay. This isn't, Clara, I think we're growing in different directions. The phrase felt rehearsed because it was. Jessica had helped him workshop it over artisanal coffee that morning. Be kind but clear. Don't leave room for hope. Clara's hands stilled on a sleeve. Different directions. The company's scaling faster than I expected. The opportunities, Jessica's father is introducing me to people who can take us from 7 figures to 9. Board seats, strategic partnerships. This is everything we dreamed about. We dreamed about, Clara repeated softly. I need someone who fits this world, who understands it. You're amazing, but… He gestured vaguely, hating himself. This level of business requires a certain image, connections, access to rooms I can't get you into. Clara finished his sentence. She finally looked at him, and her eyes were devastatingly calm. Because my father doesn't own a telecom empire. That's not fair, isn't it? She folded the last shirt, his favorite one, the one she'd bought him for his first investor pitch. You're choosing her because she's useful. I get it, Matthew, I really do. Then why aren't you angry? He wanted her to yell, to throw something. Anger he could handle. This quiet acceptance was worse. Clara stood, smoothing invisible wrinkles from her jeans. Because I hope you find what you're chasing, I really do. She walked to the bedroom, came back with a small bag already packed. You already knew, he said, shocked. I've known for 3 weeks. She headed for the door, then paused. One question. When you hit $1 billion, when you're on every magazine cover, when Jessica's world becomes yours, will you remember the night you almost gave up? When you had $347 in your account and I brought you Thai food? Matthew's throat tightened. Clara, because I will. She opened the door. I'll remember everything. She left. Matthew stood in the empty apartment, his phone buzzing with congratulations about Jessica's latest tweet promoting their partnership. He should feel relieved, victorious. Instead, he felt cold. His laptop chimed, an email from an unknown sender, no subject line, just a video file labeled Matthew_really_watch _this.mp4. He almost deleted it. But something made him click. The video loaded. It was security footage, dated 6 months ago, a boardroom he'd never seen before, and there, sitting at the head of the table, was Clara. Matthew walked into the boardroom like he owned it. Custom suit, confidence borrowed from 3 weeks of Jessica's world. He'd rehearsed his opening remarks, humble but visionary, the perfect balance. Kim sat at the head of the table, John from legal, 3 faces he didn't recognize. Jessica's chair was empty. She's running late, Matthew said, checking his phone. No messages. She's not coming, Kim said flatly. Please, sit. Something in her tone made his stomach drop. Gentlemen, Kim continued, before we proceed with Series B discussions, I need to introduce someone. The primary capital partner and majority shareholder in Matthew Chen's company. The door opened. Matthew's blood turned to ice. Clara walked in. Not the Clara who'd folded his laundry 4 days ago. This Clara wore a slate grey suit that probably cost more than his first car. Her hair was pulled back, severe and professional. She carried a leather portfolio embossed with gold letters, Whitmore Capital. She didn't look at him, just took the seat at Kim's right hand. "Ms. Whitmore," Kim said, "the floor is yours." Whitmore. The name hit Matthew like a freight train. Whitmore Capital, one of the most secretive investment firms in the Valley, the firm that had funded Uber's early rounds, that had minority stakes in half the unicorns in Silicon Valley. Clara, Ms. Whitmore, opened her portfolio with clinical precision. "Gentlemen, Matthew, let me clarify the capital structure you've been operating under." Her voice was different, colder, the voice of someone who'd sat in 1,000 boardrooms. Whitmore Capital has held 51% equity in this company since March 2024, invested through 3 shell LLCs and 2 offshore vehicles to maintain anonymity. Matthew couldn't breathe. The initial $2 million you thought came from Kim's firm. Clara slid a document across the table. Whitmore Capital routed through Cascade Partners, the bridge round last August. Also us. The anonymous angel investor who saved you when you almost defaulted on payroll in October. She finally looked at him. "Me? That's—" Matthew's voice cracked. "That's impossible. You worked in marketing. I let you believe I worked in marketing." Clara pulled up a spreadsheet on the monitor. Matthew's company, every transaction, every dollar. Jessica Hartwell owns 3.2% equity, non-voting shares, essentially a publicity partnership arranged by her father, who sits on Whitmore's advisory board. She was the face, I was the money. John from legal slid a stack of documents toward Matthew. "These are the original shareholder agreements. Your signature is on page 12. You signed over majority control 17 months ago." Matthew grabbed the papers with shaking hands. There, his signature, terms he'd barely read, desperate for any funding. Buried in Section 8, primary shareholder maintains right to anonymity until strategic disclosure event. "You used me," he whispered. "No." Clara's eyes were glacial. "I invested in you. There's a difference. You were brilliant, Matthew. Your product was revolutionary, but you needed capital, structure, and protection from your own inexperience." "Protection? You lied?" "I gave you exactly what you asked for." Her voice cut like a scalpel. "Money. Access, success. You have all 3. What you chose to do with them, that was entirely your decision." Kim cleared her throat. "Matthew, Ms. Whitmore has called this meeting to discuss leadership restructure." "I'm removing you as CEO, Clara said simply. The room spun. "Effective immediately, I'm appointing John as interim CEO. You'll remain as Chief Product Officer, a role better suited to your skills. You'll retain your 31% equity stake. But operational control?" She closed her portfolio with a decisive snap. "That belongs to someone who understands what loyalty actually costs." Matthew shot to his feet. "You can't. This is my company." "Read Section 14, Paragraph 3, Clara said calmly. "Majority shareholder reserves right to remove C-suite leadership with cause." "You want to know what constitutes cause?" She pulled out her phone, played an audio recording. His voice, "Clara's great, but she doesn't fit the image we need at this level. Jessica understands optics, legacy. She's what investors want to see." Jessica's laugh, "Smart, ambition requires sacrifice." The recording was from Aspen, a private conversation he thought was off the record. Clara pocketed her phone. "You sacrificed me for a 3.2% stakeholder with no voting rights and a famous last name." "That's not ambition, Matthew. That's stupidity." She stood. The meeting was over. "Clara, wait." He grabbed her arm. She looked at his hand on her sleeve. When she met his eyes, there was nothing there. No anger, no pain, just the cold calculation of someone who'd been playing chess while he played checkers. "I gave you everything," she said quietly. "My money, my expertise, my heart. You threw away the last one for Instagram photos and magazine coverage. The first 2? She pulled her arm free. "Those were never yours to keep." She walked toward the door. "How long?" Matthew's voice broke. "How long were you planning this?" Clara paused, hand on the doorframe. "Since the night you forgot our anniversary. I activated the contingency the day you left for Aspen. Every dollar you've spent since then. I've been watching. Every decision I've been documenting. You built a company, Matthew. Congratulations. She looked back one last time. I built an empire, and you were just living in it. The door closed. Matthew collapsed into his chair, drowning in papers that proved he'd never been in control at all. His phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Board vote scheduled for Monday. They're not just removing you as CEO. Check your shareholder agreement, Section 23. Clara can force you out entirely. You have 72 hours to fight back. If you want to save your company, meet me at Pier 39, midnight. Come alone. A friend. Matthew's hands shook. He'd thought he was chasing success. He'd been the mouse in someone else's maze all along. And now someone new was offering him cheese. The boardroom emptied. Kim gave Matthew a pitying look on her way out. John gathered his papers in silence, the interim CEO who'd just stolen Matthew's throne without saying a word. Matthew sat frozen, staring at 17 months of signatures he'd been too desperate to read carefully. Every clause, every stipulation, Clara's fingerprints on all of it. She'd been 3 steps ahead the entire time. His phone buzzed again, the mysterious midnight meeting, but he ignored it. There was only one person he needed to see. He found Clara in the parking garage, keys in hand. Clara, wait. Please. She didn't turn around. I have another meeting, Matthew. I'm sorry. The words tumbled out, desperate and raw. God, I'm so sorry. I underestimated you. I underestimated us. I chased the image, the spotlight. I wanted to be seen as successful so badly that I couldn't see what was real. You saw exactly what you wanted to see. Clara finally faced him, and her composure cracked just slightly. A supportive girlfriend who made good Thai food recommendations, not someone who could actually build what you were dreaming about. I was an idiot. Yes. No hesitation. You were. Give me another chance, please. Not as CEO. I get it. I burned that bridge. But us. What we had before Jessica, before Aspen, before I lost my mind chasing things that didn't matter. Didn't matter. Clara's laugh was sharp. Matthew, it all mattered. Every shallow choice you made showed me exactly who you become when the stakes get high. When someone offers you a shortcut paved in gold. I chose wrong, but I'm choosing you now. Now that you know I'm valuable. She pressed her key fob. Her car, a Tesla he'd never seen before, chirped to life. You don't love me, Matthew. You love what I can do for you. There's a difference. She opened her door. Clara, I can change. I can prove. You had 17 months to see me. Really see me. Her voice finally broke. And you didn't. Not once. She slid into the driver's seat. Matthew's phone exploded with notifications, his email, his Slack, his text messages, all firing simultaneously. He looked down. Breaking, Whitmore Capital announces hostile takeover of Chen Technologies. Founder Matthew Chen's equity stake. Frozen pending investigation. His blood went cold. What investigation? Clara's window rolled down halfway. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. The SEC wants to know why you've been trading on insider information for the last 3 weeks. Jessica's father tipped you off about a merger that wasn't public yet. You bought stock. Left a digital trail. I didn't. That was... His mind raced, the investment advice Jessica had given him over dinner. Just between us, she'd said. My father would kill me if he knew I told you. It was a setup. Jessica worked for you? Matthew whispered, horrified. Jessica worked for herself. I just made sure her ambition pointed in a useful direction. Clara's window began to rise. Check your email, Matthew. Your lawyers will contact you about the board meeting on Monday. You're destroying me. No. Clara's final words cut through the closing window. I'm teaching you that people aren't stepping stones, they're partnerships, and you just learned what happens when you break one. The window sealed shut. She drove away. Matthew stood alone in the parking garage, his empire collapsing in real time on his phone screen. The mysterious text glowed. Pier 39. Midnight. I can help you fight back. He had nothing left to lose, or so he thought. His phone rang. Unknown caller. He answered, a distorted voice. Hello, Matthew. We've been watching your situation with interest. Clara Whitmore isn't the only one with secrets. Meet us tonight. We'll show you who's really pulling the strings. Who is this? Someone who knows what Clara did to acquire Whitmore Capital, and trust me, you'll want this information before Monday's vote. The line went dead. Matthew's reflection stared back from a car window, a man who'd thought he understood the game. He'd been so terribly wrong. Matthew didn't go to Pier 39. Instead, he went to the only place that mattered. Clara's office, real office. Whitmore Capital, 47th floor, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city he'd thought he was conquering. Security tried to stop him. He didn't care. He pushed past, took the elevator, his heart hammering against his ribs. Clara sat behind a desk made of glass and steel, reviewing documents that probably decided the fates of companies he'd never heard of. "You shouldn't be here," she said without looking up. "You didn't lose me to money." Matthew's voice cracked. "I need you to know that." Clara's pen stilled. She finally looked at him, and her expression was devastatingly calm. "You're right," she said. "I didn't lose you to money." Hope flickered in his chest. "I lost you when you thought I had none." The hope died. Clara stood, walked to the window. The city glittered below them, 1,000 ambitions burning in the dark. "I believed in you when you were unknown, Matthew, when you had $347 in your bank account and dreams that terrified you. I saw your potential when you were just a guy with a laptop and caffeine addiction." She turned to face him. "You chose someone else the moment you thought I wasn't enough. Not enough connections, not enough prestige, not enough value in the rooms you wanted to enter." "That's not—" "It's exactly that. No anger, no tears, just the quiet certainty of someone who'd already grieved and moved on. You didn't fall out of love with me, Matthew. You fell in love with what you thought success looked like. And I wasn't part of that picture. I was wrong. God, Clara, I was so wrong." "Yes, you were." She walked past him toward the door. "But that's a lesson you needed to learn. Some people see value in others only after they discover it was there all along. By then, it's too late." She opened the door. Security waited in the hallway. "Goodbye, Matthew." "Clara, please." His voice broke. "The SSEC investigation, the board vote, everything you're doing. Is there anything I can do? Anything at all?" She paused in the doorway, and for just a moment something flickered across her face. Not love. Not even pity. Recognition. "There is one thing," she said quietly. "Anything. Learn to see people before you need them." She walked away. Security escorted Matthew out. He stood on the sidewalk, 47 floors below, where his second chance had just died in silence. His phone buzzed. The distorted voice had sent a photo. It was Clara, 15 years old, standing beside a man Matthew recognized from Forbes covers, Thomas Whitmore, her father, but the caption underneath stopped his heart. Clara Whitmore, age 15, 6 months before Thomas Whitmore's suspicious death. Cause never determined. Primary beneficiary Clara Whitmore. Whitmore Capital founded 30 days later. A new message appeared. "She's not who you think she is. Monday's board meeting isn't about removing you, it's about something much bigger. Pier 39, midnight, last chance." Matthew's hands shook. He'd thought this story was about a man who chose wrong. He was beginning to realize it was about a woman who'd been playing a much longer game, and he'd just been a piece on her board. The question was, what did she really want? And who else had she destroyed to get it?